this one down. Did you get that on film?
I think okay, we are here today and we're with the lovely Tates, family affair. They are busy drafting out fat lambs, aren't you, Chris? This is Chris. How would you describe your farming enterprise, Chris?
Elementary. So we're year 2 in, so this is a bit of a steep learning curve.
And have you had sheep before?
No. No sheep. Deal with IT. So yeah, we're getting grips with the anatomy of a sheep.
Good. And you've got North of England mules, am I right?
North of England mules, about 130, and about 220 lambs from this year, and we've got some pedigree Suffolks. Pedigree
Suffolks, and they're a new enterprise this year, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's all a learning curve.
Certainly is. Every day is a school day.
Yeah. So we've got lads here to help as well.
Gonna shout hello?
Yeah. Here we go. And we're just going to get a baseline because last year, I don't know, there was a feeling that maybe the lambs weren't finishing as quickly as they could.
Yeah, so we lambed 30 ewes last year and none were finished. They were all light. They were all really light by the end of sort of September. They were really quite light. So we're going to get them some blood samples because we think there might be a mineral deficiency somewhere.
So there's a list of things that might cause them to be a bit slow finishing as long as your arm. It could be parasites, some sort of trace element, something else. So really, before we go in and worm them or give them a supplement, the idea is we find actually the root of the problem and then target what we're doing. So that's what we'll do. We'll get some blood samples, we'll get some dung samples, and we'll start investigating.
Yeah, Josh, you can do the dung samples.
Good man. So don't worry. I don't worry. We'll just set it away recording and we'll get some useful stuff. Hello. Right, Grant, whoever first, ready? Thank you very much. Good man. That's us done with some able assistance. I'll get dung samples checked for worm eggs later on today, and the bloods will go off to sort of an external lab. They'll take a bit longer, but once we've got the results, we'll know what we're dealing with. A, make sure we're not missing anything. B, make sure that we're not giving things unnecessarily. Anyway, I'll leave these guys to it.
See you later, guys.
Like we said before, Chris and his family are totally new to farming, they're new entrants, they're wanting to do everything right. This is a great opportunity to get a baseline. The sheep currently aren't getting any trace element supplementation. They're possibly carrying a slightly high worm burden. That's why we have the dung samples to check. Once we've got some results, we can tailor our approach both this year and in years to come. That means that we can give them supplements as necessary. We can alter how we worm them. That means the lambs are going to thrive. That means the guys here can sell them quickly. So happier sheep and a bit more cash in the pocket of the farmers here. So it should be a win-win. We'll pick it back up once I've got some results. Okay, welcome back. You can probably tell by the state of my hair that it's been some time since we took those samples. We found some interesting things. Those problems have been dealt with, but I still wanted to bring you up to speed because I thought you guys would find it interesting. So the first thing we did was take some dung. We were able to look at those on the day. They gave us a mean eggs per gram of 375. So again, it's all to do with context, but in this case, we considered that not to be sky high, but still probably contributing to poor lamb growth. So the first step was to employ a wormer. Chris and I talked about the choice of wormer, lots of different things to consider there, time of year, withdrawal periods, etc. If the same happened to you, the best person to go and talk to, of course, would be your vet. In this case, we went for a clear wormer, a group 3. Next, we got the trace element results back. And just to remind you, we sent these away for vitamin B12, that's a measure of cobalt. We sent them away for copper. We sent them away for something called GSHPX, that's a measure of selenium. And we sent them away for iodine. Now, I'll try and get these results up on the screen just to give you an idea of the form that we get back from the lab. Each lab will be slightly different. We use SAC, which have several bases around Scotland. For us, they're actually our closer lab, despite the fact we're in England. That's how close we are to Scotland. So you can see along the left, we've got the list of sample IDs. We've just listed these by weight condition on a very crude basis. You can see all the way down, we've got 6 samples, and then for the iodine, if you scan across at the bottom, there's a pool of blood. So that's because with iodine generally, we pool that information. There's a couple of reasons for that. Partly it's economic. Doing individual iodines ends up being very expensive. Now, the lab know how simple the vets out in practice are, so they helpfully put all the results that are outside the desired range in bold. So when you see bold, that is a result that's either below or above the desired range. Let's start with B12, that's on the left. As a very brief explanation, cobalt is used by microbes in the rumen to make B12, hence low B12 may well be a reflection of low cobalt. And as you can see, all but one, and that's actually the heavy one, funnily enough, are low in B12. So that's our first big deficiency here. It's a common one, but not universal here in Northumberland. So move along to the right to copper. Those are all normal, all sit within the normal range. While we're talking about copper, copper can very easily be deficient, but it can also very easily be toxic. It's very easy to push sheep into copper toxicity where we overload them. Again, it highlights the importance of doing this analysis so we don't go in with a drench, a bolus, an injection, any sort of supplement which is going to be supplying these lambs with extra copper. First of all, they don't need, but second of all, could actually be detrimental to them. Moving along, again, move down to the bottom because we're looking at a pool, we're looking at iodine, and that is pretty low. Again, in bold, again, well below the reference range. So there's a deficiency of iodine there that could well be contributing to the low growth as well. And then finally, on the far right, we've got GSHPX. Remember, that is a reflection of the lamb's selenium status, and these are all looking good. So to summarize, we've got low cobalt, we've got adequate copper, we've got low iodine, and we've got adequate selenium. Now, where does that leave the takes in terms of what they're going to do with their lambs this year? Like I said, they're going to worm them. Funnily enough, a high worm burden can lead to or exacerbate a cobalt issue and therefore a B12 issue because it interferes with absorption. And low cobalt and low B12 can immunosuppress the lamb, leading to higher worm burden. So there's a little bit of chicken and egg there. We're going to deal with both. So we know from these results what we need to supplement these lambs with. Chris and I had a discussion. There's many different ways of supplementing trace elements. In this case, in this year, we're going for cheap and cheerful. We're going for a drench. Drenches typically don't last very long, but he's not got thousands of lambs to do, and he's going through them frequently to weigh them and to pull off any fat ones. Next year, we may well go for something that he can give before there's an issue and that lasts a bit longer. So yes, in this case, we've gone for a clear wormer and a cobalt and iodine drench. That will be slightly different to what we do next year. I really hope you guys found that interesting. Again, I'm not trying to say that all the lambs in our catchment in Northumberland in the UK would benefit from exactly the same treatment. It's all about trying to be a bit forensic in your investigation, and certainly worms and trace elements aren't the only thing that can cause poor lamb growth rates. You've got to think about nutrition, what's actually in front of them. In this case, perhaps you didn't see, but it's a good grass field, not had heaps and heaps of sheep on it for a long time, hasn't got heaps of sheep on it now, so there shouldn't be any great competition for forage. For the vet students out there, I'll put a great article by Fiona Lovett and Emily Gascoigne. I think it's from In Practice, forgive me if I'm wrong, on investigating poor performance in lambs. That is a really good guide, as I say, to forensically investigating these issues. The farmers and equally the vet students, I'll stick a great resource from New Zealand Beef and Lamb on lamb growth rates. It's very, very long, but hopefully you can use it as a reference if you want to, and zone in on which exact bits you want to think about, you want to read up on. So that's it for today. It's not a blue light call, it's not a calving, it's not a prolapse, but it is just as important as all of that work, trying to get the livestock under our care, not simply to not be sick, but to thrive. That's best for them, and it's best for the farmer. If you're new to the channel and you enjoyed that and you've watched this far, well done. You are more than welcome to go and have a look at some of the older videos and see the sort of stuff we're putting out, and you might start to see the sort of variety of work that we do as farm vets. It's great fun. Think about subscribing, think about hitting that little bell next to it so you don't miss any updates about new videos. Like the video and leave me a comment. It's all very much appreciated. Anyway, until next time.